Well, we are here with Lauren Beukes. She is a business owner, and Lauren is somebody that I have known for a very long time. She's very good friends with my daughter, but she's not here as a friend. She is here as a business owner. And so this fits into the series of interviews that I'm doing at the moment with business owners. And so I'm excited to hear from Lauren what she does and then how that fits into her understanding of business. So Lauren, you are a counseling psychologist. Now, there's millions of different kinds of psychology. So what is counseling psychology?
So counseling psychology deals with sort of everyday developmental problems that come into our life. A lot of the emphasis in our scope is sort of on the phases of life, integrating ourselves and our understanding of ourselves in terms of our development and how we move through the different phases of life. So I see lots of different things, or like every day is something new that pops into my practice, but lots of everyday sort of struggles that people are going through, whether it be divorce, whether it be difficulty with work and just actually getting out of bed, motivation, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's very broad, it's very diverse. And I think the tricky thing with psychology in general is that it all kind of like bleeds into each other a lot of the time. So we do have these different categories, but we're such like diverse people. We have so many different dimensions to us that you can't ever look at just one aspect of a person's life when we're struggling, especially.
So I'm going to delve a little bit further along into this whole aspect of what are the benefits of the counseling and so on. But I'd like to just get to know you a little bit because you've been on a journey in terms of what you wanted to do with your career and where it was going, because your initial studies were around sports psychology. So what was that about, and what made you change your direction?
So I played a lot of sport growing up, but found that winning was incredibly difficult when your mind was not on your side. And I still struggle with that today. I have not resolved that, but lots and lots of performance anxiety. I struggled with that. And so I decided that I think probably more out of like a personal quest than a professional one, I wanted to figure out what I was going to do about this. So I pursued the sports psychology route. And when I got into third year and I was starting to look at what I'm going to do in terms of my postgrad studies, I realized that there is no registration in South Africa for a sports psychologist. So, every psychologist has to be registered with the Health Professions Council, and there isn't a registration. So the best way for me to ever get into sports psychology was to study counseling or clinical psychology, and then I could specialize. If I did my PhD in sports psychology, then I could say that I was a counseling psychologist specialized in sports psychology. And I have now moved completely away from that. I love what I do too much to actually give up anything to pursue sport again. So yeah, very happy with where I'm at, but no longer in sports psychology.
But you're still very involved in sports though.
Yeah, still play a lot of sports, still stuck with all my own little like mental bugs, but hopefully working through them. I'm trying.
Right. And so I find that's so fascinating, because I think it's something people can relate to. Is I have this idea of what I want to do, and it's based on maybe my own needs or my own interests. And then there's this barrier that's out of our control sometimes. And sometimes that can sink us, can't it? Is to say, well, I can't do what I want to do. And so we fall into a hole, whereas you adapted and sort of changed course. And then that course became the main thing, and you fell in love with it.
Yeah, 100%.
I love that. So it's a great lesson in life for us as we go. And of course, even now in COVID, many people have had to do that, haven't they? Have had to adjust their direction. And I'm sure that some of those people are the ones you're seeing is having to give up on dreams or be disappointed about lost opportunities, and processing that.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. And I also think just readjusting the whole vision for your life sometimes, in terms of where even if you keep your same job, that your job has suddenly become a lot more flexible, your role has maybe changed, or you've taken a salary cut and now suddenly you have to adapt your lifestyle to something that feels quite restrictive, and there's a lot of negative energy around that, obviously. So there's so many adjustments at the moment, even if it's not an entire career change.
Yeah. And thank goodness we've got counseling psychologists to go to be able to process these things with. But Lauren, so you've gone down this path of counseling psychology, and it's a lengthy process of training, of academic studies, of internship, and you come and you now got your qualification. And there are many ways that you could have offered that service as a counseling psychologist, but you chose to start your own practice. In other words, to be a business owner. So how did that come about, and why did you make that choice?
So, I mean, there are a lot of avenues for psychologists, but what's quite restricting sometimes for counseling psychologists is that we're not allowed in the sort of clinical hospital setting. So there are very few institutions that actually look to employ counseling psychologists because of our scope being what it is. So it's actually very difficult to find a private organization that would like to employ a counseling psychologist. So actually options are limited. And so I applied for a couple of jobs. The posts are limited. It's very competitive. There are lots of amazing psychologists out there. And coming out of my internship, I had no experience. So that was really tricky too. And so it was sort of like a do or die kind of situation. If I wanted to start working, then I needed to try and make a plan. And so that's what I did. I started seeing clients, and I started paying a lady who is my supervisor, a much more experienced psychologist than myself, and I have a very good relationship with her. And so we see each other on a weekly basis, and that really helps in terms of guidance and growing as a therapist, but also as a business owner. So it sounds quite glamorous to me to say I chose to be a business owner. It kind of felt a little bit like a do or die, just sink or swim.
Well, and again, that's what a lot of people are finding themselves in, isn't it? Is that maybe they have been ousted from a corporate position, or circumstances have changed, and it's sink or swim. You say do or die. It's like, okay, this is the option that's given to me. But Lauren, in your situation, so how long have you been running your practice?
3 years now.
And it's actually booming, isn't it? I mean, you're really busy. You've got you're almost at full capacity in terms of the number of clients you can see.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think you're always going to want to strive for more. So when you say almost at full capacity, I actually have like a little heart flutter, like, oh, not yet. There's still more. But yeah, I think in the time that from when I opened it to now, I'm much busier and a lot more confident, and it's exciting.
But that's spoken like a true business owner. It's like, no, I'm not done. There's more in me, and there's more to go and more to grow. And so that's where the cutting edge is, isn't it? So what I'm saying is that even though there was this do or die, I'm here, I have to do this, that you've actually again embraced it and grown, and your business has flourished as a result. And obviously, as you say, will continue to grow. So what is it that you enjoy about not just the counseling aspect of it, but the ownership of a practice, now that you're in it, what is it that you appreciate about it?
I think the best thing about having my own business is that I get to choose how my diary works. And so sometimes that can be to my detriment, because then you work these weird hours and put people in, because then I feel too guilty to say no sometimes. But I am still able to play tennis. I am able to manage my time according to, like, if I want to gym in the morning, and I absolutely love that I could at any given point in my career change my diary around and say, okay, no, I'd like to finish work at 2 every day. Or the flexibility of that is so important to me, especially coming out of an internship that was 8 to 5, stuck in your office the whole day. I love the flexibility. But I think there's also just a lot of autonomy, and I like that I can make my own decisions. And so if I decided that I wanted to change my contract or see a different type of client or pursue a different direction in terms of courses and CPD work, I can do that. And that's so exciting, because the options are like limitless.
That's exciting. That's exciting. So it's the time flexibility, but also the options that are open to you in terms of the various directions you can go in. And literally the sky's the limit. It depends on what you want. So then that becomes the challenge. What do you want?
Yeah.
Lauren, let's turn now to bring it back to what you're experiencing at the moment in your business. We're in COVID times. As you say, there's maybe stresses and difficulties that people are experiencing that are related to what we're currently going through. So what are some of the trends? Obviously not giving away anything in terms of confidentiality, but what are some of the trends that you're seeing in terms of the difficulties that people are facing as they're coming to you?
So I think we touched on it earlier, that there's just a massive phase of adjustments for a lot of people. And I think one of the biggest trends that's most difficult is that people are working incredibly hard. If you've been lucky enough to keep your job, people are working very long hours. And the work from home situation was so exciting for a lot of people at the beginning, because it was like, oh yay, all this flexibility and I'm going to work from home. But the reality of it has been that it's incredibly long hours. People feel like they have to be at their boss's beck and call or their customer's beck and call 24 hours a day, because it's like, well, you're not doing anything. I know you're just sitting at home. So answer my calls, reply to my emails. And so the pressure in terms of work for a lot of people has been intense. And so the work hours are longer, and there's less chatting, less socializing, less space for an outlet. And so I'm finding that a lot of people, they're almost like their whole world has become work and only work. And then that's in the context of quite a stressful environment. The threat of COVID, the uncertainty around COVID has been incredibly difficult to adjust to. So I'm seeing that a lot of people are struggling with sleep. It's been a massive thing. People have either gained or lost an incredible amount of weight, and that plays with your identity as well. And I think a lot of people are just feeling like an inexplicable anxiety. It's not that everyone can say, I'm terrified of getting COVID, or I'm terrified of losing my job, or it's such an unknown that we can't even identify or pinpoint what the anxiety that we're feeling is. And I think that's very frustrating. And then people are inexplicably angry. So people are snappy and irritable and short-tempered and sort of coming into my offices being like, I don't know what's wrong with me at the moment, but I'm so angry. And I think there's a lot of that sort of like bubbling anger that sits under the surface. That also comes with not being able to play out all of the different roles in our lives. I think at the moment people are being reduced to only being a mom and an employee, or only being a boss and I don't know, friend or whatever it is. But people cannot play out all of the versions of themselves. And it's quite sort of like constricting. We don't get to explore ourselves as much. And I think all of that combined is creating quite a lot of angst.
Wow, that's really a really great summary of the various dynamics that are playing in our lives, and you've expressed it so well. The thoughts that are going through many of our minds, and some of those people are taking steps to address them by speaking to somebody like yourself. But there are many people who aren't, who are just living with that vague but real anxiety. So Lauren, what would you I would hate to say that there's like an answer. I know you would wrap me over the knuckles if I said, okay, fix. But I'm nevertheless going to maybe still push you into a corner and say, what would be some general advice, or what would be some principles that people apply that to help in those kinds of situations? What would you be saying to somebody who's dealing with these kinds of things?
So a lot of what I suggest is actually just keeping track of and being aware of what we're experiencing emotionally. I know that it's a lot of the time it feels really inexplicable, and I myself go through phases of anxiety where I don't know what it is either. So I'm not saying that we can all have the answers just sitting at the forefront of our minds, but I think what does help is being able to track the highs and lows of our emotional existence, so that in a week you can be like, oh, I was really angry about this, so I was really sad at this moment, and maybe there won't be a huge explanation, but a sense of awareness gives us this I don't know, maybe an illusion of control, or understanding of ourselves, and we can slowly start to pick up patterns or understand something. But I also think that at the moment, with things opening up, we need to just be ourselves a little bit. And so I would advise getting out there. Do your runs with your running club again, or start gymming again. People are quite like hesitant and reticent, and I understand why. There's a lot of anxiety. But in terms of mental health, it's so important that we play out these different versions of ourselves, like I was saying just now, not to be so stuck in one or two roles because it's so confining. So try something different, do something new. And monitor the agitation. And it's okay to feel a bit anxious. It's okay to feel sad. But being aware of it, I think that sometimes helps, that it's not such an unknown.
That is so helpful. And sometimes we just need permission. I mean, it seems so obvious, and it can be simple, isn't it? Just get out there. But I've just recently been hearing a lot from a few people that I'm interacting with, and they went out into nature, especially. I think that's what people, especially for those of us who are living in big cities, just connecting with nature and creation is life-giving. It's just like a breath of fresh air, and so we just underestimate it, don't we? We just, something as simple as that, it can make a huge difference for us.
Yeah, but also connecting with people. And I think, the getting in touch with nature is amazing, and it gives you that sigh that you can breathe out and like really take it in. But because of this whole virus and that it's spread through people, and it makes it so like, I don't know, dodgy to connect with other people, but we're social beings. We need it so much. So in the safest way that you can, I think it's important to actually get out there and connect with people.
Lovely, thank you. I want to, because it's connected to who you are and what you believe. As I was reading through your website, I found this amazing statement that you say that says, I believe that every person is strong and resilient despite times of feeling immense weakness. and that finding the strength to explore ourselves is the first step to reaching our full power and potential. That's such a, I think what I appreciate about it, it's more than just positive thinking. But it's a strong statement of belief in the power of the human being to find their own way. And so can you just share a little bit more about where that belief comes from and why you're able to say it with such boldness?
I think because this is what I see all the time. What I've learned is that people are amazing and that we are inherently resilient. We have a will to live, and some of us lose it along the way. But as soon as you take the step into self-exploration and self-understanding, the more there is like this integration of all the different bits of ourselves, whether it's the good bits or the bad bits, the more integrated we seem to become, and the more we understand ourselves, the more we accept the whole world for what it is. And it just seems to like create a whole space for finding the meaning or purpose of our lives. Viktor Frankl speaks about this being the most important task, that we find our purpose, that we find our deeper meaning and the reason that we exist. And we can't do that if we can't accept ourselves, really. We have to understand and know ourselves in some way. And I find that journey of just understanding ourselves opens up the door to so many different explorations, which is amazing. It's a never-ending journey.
Yeah, and that's the delight of it, isn't it? And the fascination is that everybody is unique. I was just thinking, as I said that, I was just thinking, somebody said, yes, we're all the same. We're equally unique, we're all the same, but unique.
Yeah.
But we all do have to plot our own path, and I think so in that journey, so maybe let's just wrap up with this before, there's one last question I want to ask, but what you've said sort of stimulated this for me is, in that journey of self-reflection, self-awareness, what is your role?
I suppose my role is to listen and to understand and to deeply empathize as far as I can, to understand a person and the way that they think or feel. Because the more we feel understood, the more we understand ourselves, because we're playing something out with somebody else. But we can't have an identity unless it's played out to someone else. If you were in a room just being, there's almost no point. There's nothing to bounce it off of. And so we can only sort of feel like we exist or we're seen if there are other people to observe.
Well, that is a whole different fascinating conversation. So we are part of, since lockdown, the team that I work with, the Wisdoms team, we've been doing what we call Wisdoms chats every day. Started every day, now it's every weekday, just for half an hour, just to stimulate conversations. And at the moment we are in this whole question around groupthink, and whether we lose ourselves in the context of a group rather than actually express our individuality. So that's why I'm saying, oh, okay, that's an interesting thing. So you'll have to come and join us at Wisdom's so that you can give us a different perspective. Lauren, just to end off with, where to from here? You've and I don't know that I'm not saying what is the 5-year plan, but what is there something mulling in your mind? And I'm sort of thinking about you again as a business owner. What are the ideas or plans or things that you're thinking of in terms of where to from here?
I actually think that I've spent the last little while just building a practice. A lot of the courses I've done and a lot of the reading I've done and whatever. I mean, I obviously do clinical casework reading, but I've also done a lot of research into just having a business. And so I think for the next while, I really want to try and push myself in terms of being a better therapist, to do more courses, to read more, and to just soak up as much as I can. Because the better therapist I am, the more confident I can be in what I'm selling. So I think there's probably going to be a little bit less emphasis on the growth of my business and a little bit more emphasis on the growth of me as a therapist and what I do and what I can offer.
And it's this continuous development, isn't it? It's realizing that we're not done. That if we're going to offer something that is of value and that has an ongoing connection with our clients, that we ourselves have to keep top of our game. And it's this, and that's whether you're a small business, a single-owned enterprise, or whether you're a big corporate. Complacency is not something that you can accept. You've got to constantly be challenging yourself to keep improving. Lauren, thank you so much. It's been so interesting and offering such a great perspective and so relevant for our time. And I'm sure that this is going to inspire other people to think about what they offer and how they could maybe also adapt and adjust what is a given in their lives, and to see that business ownership is yes, it's difficult and scary and so on, but there are ways that we can make it work for ourselves. And then also inspiration in terms of dealing with the tough times that we're going through. So thank you. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, Leigh. It was nice.
Good, good, good.